have to do a good job. And they got free tea and coffee and
Can I ask you to speak a little bit louder?
sure,
Okay.
yeah. Go ahead and monitor my speech because sometimes it gets low. So if I'm talking too low, you just tell me to talk louder. Yeah.
Could you?
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. We have George Pease with us again. I don't remember how many times he been with us, but I'm very thankful, and we're very thankful to have him even today on the camera. Of course, we're going to talk about his magical stuff about Ormus, and I see that he has something new today. Can you tell a little bit about this?
Well, what we've gotten is we're still working on the Ormus, and I should probably explain some things about Ormus. So Ormus has been in many of the ancient cultures. The Egyptians used it, Sumerians, the Babylonians, and it's interesting what they say the Ormus has done for them. One of the things they say, they use the Ormus, the Egyptians do, to feed what they called their light bodies. And I think that could be roughly translated, light bodies, into the energies that you have. That is your spirit. So when you think of the chakra energies and you think of those energies, if you think of that operating as a whole, and these energies are all working together, they're all operating together as a whole. And what they would do is they would feed their light bodies. And basically what they were feeding them was a type of Ormus. And Ormus is not a particular, this is many elements can be set up in an Ormus situation. So there's 50 elements that can be put into an Ormus form. All of the noble elements can be put into the Ormus. But anyway, so this Ormus is basically in between the third and fourth dimension. And what happens with Ormus is it's partially in the fourth dimension. So they would take this Ormus in. Now, biologically, our bodies are full of Ormus. Any biological entity is full of Ormus. A study was done by David Hudson. I believe he did the study. It might have been somebody else. David Hudson was the gentleman from Arizona who rediscovered Ormus. And in Egypt, they called it mufkat. Now, if you look at the hieroglyphics in Egypt, you'll see these cones, and there's tens of thousands of them. They're all over the hieroglyphics. And these cones, they're being served. So they're being served like a food in the hieroglyphics. They're being served to the priests and to the officials, and maybe to the people too, but they're probably not going to put the ordinary people in the hieroglyphics. So they have the priests, they have the officials, and their hieroglyphics are full of these little cone-shaped things that they're always serving to the people, and the people ate it. And when this Ormus goes in your system, you get then what happens is it enhances the Ormus that's already in your system. The body's already full of Ormus, and Ormus is basically what facilitates life. It's one of the things that facilitate life. So they would eat it, and the Egyptians, how many notable things have the Egyptians done? They were kind of the center of culture, center of civilization. You had the library, the great library, and that was in Egypt. And
The book of death.
Yeah, exactly. And so Ormus is an interesting product. And they would eat this Ormus all of the time, daily. And so why did they feel like it was necessary to put this in their hieroglyphic literature? Why, of all the things, and there's so many things, but why is this like all over their hieroglyphs? Well, the Egyptians say it fed their light body, and they attributed a great amount of their progress to this Ormus, and so they would eat this, and then this fourth dimensional energies would combine with the Ormus in their body and expand their chakras, expand all of the elements that basically we work with in telepathy and in the paranormal realm. It enhanced telepathy, it enhanced astral travel, it enhanced all of these modalities. Ormus enhanced them according to the Egyptians and according to the Sumerians. And now it's available again. That we can take this into our system, and then we can walk like Egyptians. I'm just kidding. Then we can get the benefits of the Egyptians that they had, and not just the Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Akkadians, the people that were also in all these ancient cultures that were advanced used Ormus. And so Ormus, basically, what questions would you ask about Ormus? Ormus is a bridge between the third dimension and the fourth dimension. We could talk about this for hours, and but what kind of questions would you think of would be good to ask, Ivan?
Actually, that was enough, I think. And if the
That's perfect.
audience, if they want to learn more about Ormus,
Yes.
They can send you email.
Yes, they can.
And you or
The
call
best way to contact me is actually through texting, or they can through voice.
Okay.
And I'll give you that number. The number's 385-236-7083, and I'd be happy to answer, any questions that I know the answer to.
Yeah.
Ormus is a huge, ancient area that is given to, that's available now.
Yeah,
Now
okay.
it's available.
Let's move now. Short turn. I know that you spent some time in Skinwalker Ranch.
Yes, I did.
And what is your impressions from that place?
Well, Skinwalker Ranch is a vortex area, and anciently it's kind of like Grand Central Station for energies, for entities, and it has a long history. So it goes back, according to the Navajos and the Utes, and these are the two primary people that were involved with the Skinwalker location. There's a myriad of hosts, because it's kind of a portal area. So the amount of phenomenon that happened there is really very great. When I would spend there, we'd have maybe 10 or 15 paranormal experiences a day. And I've slept overnight there a couple of times and worked with the managers on Skinwalker. And basically, there's a myriad of experiences that I've had.
Okay, so you said only paranormal, but people talking about the some of the observers of this area, they said they're talking about the portals.
Yes.
Entities coming can.
Yeah, coming and going. I kind of call it Grand Central Station
Uh-huh.
for entities. And so the reports go on and on and on. And unfortunately, in the chronologies of the Skinwalker, they tend to be a little bit Hollywoodized. And what's sad about that is that there's thousands of experiences that are very directly paranormal that I think would be more interested to the person who's really trying to understand and grok a little bit, if we use that old sci-fi term that some of you from the 80s and 90s are still aware of.
What kind of intelligence control that area?
I think it's a cooperative. There's not just one intelligence. There's a lot of entities. There's been many Sasquatch sightings. There's been a whole variety of entities that are there, and the sensitive people. Now, unfortunately, it's not available to the public, but very notoriety. It's got a lot of notoriety, and and that's basically what I could mention a couple of examples.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one example when we went there, the nature is very different in that area. Kind of like if you've ever been to Hawaii and you see the cooperation between animal species, dogs and cats hang out together, and you get really, so there's phenomenon like this in this area. So for one thing, the rabbits, these are cottontail rabbits that are hunted, and they would come from different areas of the field. One time I was there with one of the managers, one of the assistant managers of the ranch, and these very wild rabbits, which are hunted like game, and they would come right up to us from like 3 different directions. They would come up to us and come right up to our feet. And phenomenon like this, there's so many phenomenon. You can hear at night. There isn't a river nearby. Sometimes at night you can hear the rushing of water. You can hear all of these sounds. A lot of times people dressed in different costumes will appear. A lot of times there's creatures there. They're big parrot-type creatures that are 5, 6, maybe 4 feet tall. And lots of these things appear on a regular basis there. Now, so this is some of the phenomenon. What does it mean? That's a deep question to answer, what it means. It means a lot of things. And being that we as humans aren't real familiar with these kinds of things, they all seem to have a paranormal element to them.
Have you made a contact with this phenomenon?
Well,
Personal?
yes, it does contact. Yes, there's a lot of contact.
No, I mean, have you done any communications with this?
Well, you can, when you're in this modality, a lot of times things speak in your mind. And no, it's kind of a dangerous place because there's some bad entities there. But you have to be very respectful. You don't have to worry about it because the public doesn't have access to it. But these are just some elements of Skinwalker Ranch. There's another ranch that's close, and it's called Blind Frog. It's owned. That ranch is called the Twin, and they kind of sometimes call the Skinwalker the evil twin, and then they have the good twin, which is which is this other area. You remember the name of it, Ivan. You've been there several times. It's called Blind Frog because they dug a big hole, and the frogs came up, and the frogs were blind because they'd been under these caverns for 1,000 years, and they were blind. And so they call it Blind Frog Ranch, but it also was a sacred area to the indigenous peoples, and it's another ranch that's about 30 miles away. And this is in the Uinta Mountain Range, which is really a special range. A lot of very special things happen there, and there's a lot of special places there that happen. And these things need to be treated with very careful respect. You don't want to, this is kind of their area, and you don't want to be infringing on what they're doing. So if you're there, you're very polite, then you're probably going to be okay. But if a very egotistical person goes there, and could be bad.
Bad consequence.
Yeah, there are consequences there.
You had meet with many interesting people with some kind of secrets,
Yes.
and before to turn on the camera, you mentioned about a person who met lately. Well, what was especially for that man? What you can say?
Well,
what he's doing?
Well, that man is very well attuned to these forces, and this is basically, it's a very interesting area. There's lots of videos. It's kind of hard. You're gonna have to dig in to get the truth and that sort of thing. So, what time is it, Wes?
It's 3:50.
3:50.
We need to go.
Yeah, I got another appointment.
Okay.
That I need to cover today. So, but these are very interesting areas, and I mean it lets you know that we're not alone. As humanity, we kind of live in a bubble, and what's going on out there, there's a lot more things going on than we're aware of, and.
So basically, if somebody from my audience order for you Arbus, that can help them to open the portal to another dimensions.
Well, it can help them to get the nutrition, the fourth dimensional nutrition they need, and it helps their life energy. And it's a very beneficial. It's already, our body's already full of Ormus, and the plants we eat, the biology we eat is full of Ormus. So that would be basically it. I'll give out the number again. It's area code 385. It's in Utah, 236-7083. And I'm sorry. I wish I'd have had a little bit more time, but it took us a while to get set up. And the wind's blowing. This is Utah weather. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, George.
You're welcome.
We appreciate your kindness to be with us again, and we'll see you again.
We'll see you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.